So I'm going to show you the absolute cheapo rebuild if you've ripped the top of your center console armrest. You've got 10 screws total. You're going to start out by taking these 2 off the bottom, 2 off the top. You're going to need these 2, so that's a total of 6. Once you've got those screws out, you're going to use a flathead or some type of object to pry off this plastic plate, which covers it up. That will get you down to, for a little bit larger screws that hold the actual top in place. So remove those, and then you can remove the entire top. So you can buy the entire lid for, I think, about $200. And, just pop those screws in, replace it, and be done with it. But what I'm going to do here is attempt the dirt cheapest way I can to get this. I was able to obtain just the leatherette or vinyl covering for $10. So we're going to see what we can do with just that. In addition, you can see I probably should have done this about a year ago. I have seriously worn away the foam where my arm sits. So I'm going to try to rebuild the foam somehow. Just telling you up front that it's going to be a cheap hack, and we'll see how it turns out. Once you've got the lid off, you're going to go around the perimeter and pry off all the small upholstery staples that are in there. If your foam's in good shape, you can move right on to recovering it. If you've got a pneumatic stapler with the smaller upholstery staples, I think that works best. For this one, I'm just going to use a regular, good old staple gun that I got from Home Depot with 1/4-inch staples. First, I'm going to try to rebuild this foam somehow. Initially, I thought I was going to cut and complete hole out to do this and use some replacement foam to sub in there, but it turns out that this foam tears very easily and is very difficult to cut. So I'll get on to how I started doing this. Because my elbow sat in there so many times, I've actually significantly worn away the foam in there. There's a huge divot, probably about a 1/2 inch deep. So I have a closed cell hiking foam pad that I'm using, and it's really easy to sculpt and contour with a sharp knife. So I'm cutting out small pieces of that foam and then using spray Gorilla Glue to try to rebuild the foam portion of the armrest, and then ideally I'll cover it up with something to try to keep the consistency of it together, and so it doesn't just push those little pieces out to the side. For the glue, spray each piece, let it sit for about a minute so that it dries, and then when you put the 2 pieces in contact, obviously it sticks really well. So make sure that you line everything up and that you're very cautious when you're using the foam glue, because you don't want to tear that stuff apart. Again, I'm not actually recommending anybody do this. This is just my attempt to throw this together and get it fixed, look reasonably well, and hopefully it'll last for a while as cheap as I can. So I thought I had a sheet of like 1/16 thick real hard foam somewhere, but I couldn't find that. So what I did is I found one of these Amazon bags. It's almost like a very fine bubble wrap, but it's kind of insulated too, or has padding in there. So I cut that in half, and it works. It's almost the exact right size, and it's reusing some existing material. So that's what I'm going to do here, is glue this on there and attempt to use that. Okay, so it seems to have worked perfectly. This is nice and smooth. Can't feel any kind of imperfections there. I think I'm going to trim around these corners a bit just so the material, doesn't bundle up on the corners. I think the back is fine. Yeah, we're going to go get some scissors and try it out. Okay, so it turned out pretty good so far. So the last thing I did once I got the top on is I went through and then I sprayed alongside and let it sit, and then kind of came down, I don't know if this is focusing, in to ensure that it had like a real nice tight bond, on the corners. Okay, so about to put the top on. Overall, I am happy. Now to put on the cover with, I got 1/4 inch nails. I was torn between 3/8 and 1/4 inch, but consensus online seemed to be 1/4 inch, so that's what I'm going with. Quick note, ideally you'd use a pneumatic stapler. Not only can you get smaller staples, but you can really get into the kind of creaks and crevices and everything you need on these kind of projects. Okay, I just noticed when I took this out that there is a line from being folded And so rather than put it on, stretch it out, that'd probably be enough. But I'm going to go ahead and hit it with my wife's hair dryer for a while. I worry about using like a heat gun, although I'm sure a heat gun would work. Those get hot so fast. I don't want to damage the material. So we'll try this out real quick. One quick tip too, make sure if you've been using the spray adhesive that you resurface or clean up your work area so that you're not, throwing your nice new cover and getting it all gummed up with any of the spray adhesive or any of that stuff. So they come with cuts, or at least the one that I bought did, in the appropriate places. So, get it seated and ensure before you even start that the cuts, match up where you want them to be. If you haven't used the staple gun before, make sure you push this. You want this up flush. You don't want it just floating, out and shooting in. Like it doesn't shoot the staples in. You really need to apply pressure. All right, so I'm very happy with the end product here. I'll do a little video after I actually install it. But so I think I got it stretched uniformly. And I was not happy with the staple gun. I just couldn't get in some of the, tight places, especially the corners. Don't be alarmed if yours doesn't look like this. So what I did was I used some of that Starbond CA, which is like a thick modeling glue, which is fantastic stuff. I started out using it on the corners, but full disclosure, I started putting it, anywhere where there were bubbles. Okay, so I just screwed on those 4 screws. Now I need to put on this plate back there, and we'll see what the finished product looks like. Okay, so this is the finished product. I still got to clean this off a little. I should have cleaned it before I put it all on there, but I got all those screws in there. So there were 4 screws there, 2 screws here, and there's 4 screws behind there that connect to the brackets. Yeah, I think all the sides and seams and everything look good. The real test of this obviously is going to be what it looks like about a year from now after the sun's been cooking it and somebody's elbow has been rubbing against it for a while. But overall, I think it's a pretty decent project, and it's definitely easier to spend the $10 to get the replacement leather than it is to buy the whole thing. So good luck. Hope this helps somebody. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.